The Path of the Giant Barbarian is one of the newer subclasses, and it opens up a ton of build options that are a lot of fun to play with. And it's going to be the answer to one of our viewers' requests. Noveler00 asked us to create the ultimate thrower build. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's jump into it. Why is Path of the Giant the perfect subclass for a thrower? Well, first, it's going to allow us to add rage damage to our thrown weapons, so just more damage. That's great. Second, at level 6, it's going to allow us to use any weapon as a thrown weapon, so now we can start throwing great swords and great axes. But I think one of the most important parts is that it allows us to throw our enemies and allies, and I really just don't think we could say the ultimate thrower and just do thrown weapon stuff. It has to be that we throw other stuff. For our lineage, I decided to go Goliath, mostly for flavor reasons. I wanted to go straight into this giant vibe, so let's go Goliath, but it also synergizes well with Barbarian. The main reason why is it gives us a reaction reduction to damage, and when you combine that with rage, our damage reduction is absolutely fantastic, so we can just tank longer than normal by being a Goliath. For our stats, we're going to go standard Barbarian. Primary strength, secondary constitution, tertiary dexterity needs to be about 14 for our medium armor. Any remainder goes into wisdom just to try and buffer our saves a little bit. Our first 2 levels in Barbarian, standard Barbarian. Go grab a great sword, go smack people in the face, you're gonna do amazing. Barbarians are just incredible at these levels. Level 3, I'm gonna basically continue doing the same thing, but now I'm gonna make sure that I mix javelins into our combat style. Still gonna be using a great sword because it's gonna out damage when we're up close, but when the opportunity arises, definitely want to throw those javelins and take advantage of us beginning to get into our thrower state. Level 4, I'm going to be bumping strength. At level 5, we pick up extra attack, which, is always amazing. As a Barbarian, we also get some additional speed here, which is always welcome. Still pretty much in that typical Barbarian frame, but that really changes once we hit level 6. Level 6 is a big level for us. Now it allows us to use whatever weapon we're using as a thrown weapon, and it allows us to add elemental damage on top of it. So our damage just increased, and our range increased as well. If we are using a great sword, that's 3d6 per attack, and we're doing 2 attacks. And I would go with a lightning theme. I just think it's cool to do like a storm giant or like a Mjolnir theme where we're yeeting our weapon at someone and it returns to us. I don't know, lightning just fits best, but if it ever doesn't work, you can switch up the damage type to whatever's appropriate. Alright, let's talk about moving forward. As for our ASIs, just getting more strength is always going to be a good option. So I would get my strength up, but after that, I might pick up the thrown weapon fighting style via Feat just for a +2 damage to every single attack we do. Or we could go into sharpshooter to further incentivize us throwing weapons instead of just running up and smacking someone. I do want one of the two though, because I do want to be incentivized to throw instead of just continually smacking. Something I like is that even though we can throw our greatsword now, sometimes we're going to still want to pull out the javelin for its better range. And sharpshooter would make that really apparent, where it would change javelin's range to 120 instead of just 30. But you never know, maybe even that 10 feet extra that javelin gives you will come in clutch sometimes versus the greatsword that you're throwing. Another thing to note is once we hit level 9, we're going to get brutal critical, which means we're going to want to switch over to our great axe. That's because brutal critical only allows us to roll a single die, and so we get to re-roll a d12 instead of a d6. Our next real power jump though happens at level 10. This gives us mighty impel. Mighty impel allows us as a bonus action to try and pick someone up and yeet them anywhere within 30 feet of us. If it's an enemy, they get to make a strength saving throw, which they're going to struggle against us because we're likely to have 20 strength at this point, so we are going to be about as hard to beat as possible, and honestly a lot of enemies struggle with strength saves. So a lot of times we're just going to get a bonus action, pick someone up, throw them 30 feet in the air, so they take 3d6 damage. They then fall on the ground in front of us, and then we can smash them with our axe with advantage without having to use reckless attack. Each of those attacks, of course, doing a d12 plus a d6, and when they crit, you're going to do a bunch of damage all at once. And it's at this moment that you might be thinking I should have gone half orc because half orc gets brutal critical as well. And yeah, that wouldn't be a bad option. Definitely another lineage you could consider. You'd be rolling a ton of dice when you're getting crits at this point. Mighty Impel also allows us to do bonus action, basically teleport your ally 30 feet without taking any damage. That's fantastic. You can do so much with this Mighty Impel. And the thing is like, why just creatures? Why can't you pick up a rock and throw it at an enemy? You might be able to, you might not. Really comes down to your DM. Makes some sense to me. Now, all of this is limited to medium or smaller creatures for now, but once you hit level 14, that changes. You can then do the same thing to larger, smaller creatures, and you're also going to get another d6 damage buff to the weapon that you've infused. Now that it's all said and done, basically what you're going to want to be doing is prioritizing throwing your weapons. That's going to deal the most damage. Unless someone is prone, then you want to get up and smack them. I haven't really mentioned it, but the Path of the Giant gets more reach. So by doing this smack, we can still stay out of their range, get advantage, and then be set up to continue doing more thrown weapon attacks afterwards. I think this is a really fun subclass that has a lot of potential for a lot of cool builds. We'll probably be exploring more of it in the future, but I want to hear your guys' best Path of the Giant build. Let me know in the comments down below. But with that, my friends, I hope you have yourselves an incredible day, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you then.